because we are that close. And the experience of walking beside changes everything and makes us realize how wonderful mission is. Helen and Emily and Margaret have had the joy of walking beside our partners in the Beale region, and now I want to ask them some tough questions and see if they have answers. My first question to you is this: how long has the Presbyterian Church in Canada been doing mission in the Beale Fields in northern India?
The Presbyterian Church in Canada has been providing assistance in northern India since 1875. Dr. John McKenna and his wife, Mary McKay, went to India in the late 1890s. They worked with the Beales in the Beale Field. The Beales are the lowest of the low. They are one of the largest tribal groups in India. The name Beale comes from the word Beale, meaning bull. They were fine archers. However, perhaps because of their reputation as warriors and forest dwellers whose way of life changed little over the centuries, the Beales were looked upon as a wild people, as being like animals. They were called the monkey people by Hindu and Muslim Indians, who regarded them as subhuman and therefore having no rights in Indian society. The Beale mission and cultural differences. The objective of the Beale mission was not to change cultural habits. Missionaries in some parts of the world in the early 1900s imposed their own culture on the people they were serving. However, the Buchanans and those missionaries who followed them showed respect and appreciation for the Beale culture. In the Beale mission field, the Canadians accepted the Beale people's way of life, joining them for tea and chapatis, using raisin wine and chapatis for communion, learning their language and educating the Beales locally. In fact, the mission placed a priority on preserving and increasing the people's self-esteem. John and Mary Buchanan's remarkable open-mindedness and commitment to the Beale field and culture set the standard for the mission field. Here are some of the following suggestions that were offered by John Buchanan in an address he made to the Mid-Indian Christian Association on September 1st, 1925. Identify yourself with the jungle people. Copying St. Paul, one must to the Beales become a Beale, that by all means we may save the Beales. The Beale will fight to his death with his bow and arrow. As a doctor, I've had to remove more than one arrow. A Beale never cringes, nor is he rough, but he is brave, true, and sporty. Be gracious as his swaying palms, yet firm as his flinty, rocky rocks. The nearer one's message corresponds to a straight, steel-pointed wing shaft, the more likely it is to go home. Get into their hearts by getting into yours. Learn the best that is in them. His keen instinct will read you like a book. Love never fails. Be spiritually minded. It is here that we materialistic Westerners fail and fail again. There is no use trying to fit a cold, calculating plainsman's religion onto an animistic mountain folk. They are mystics, and the mysticism of the highlands of Israel. God is great and good, but very far off, and does not have anything to do with the Beales. It is the demons that must be appeased, for demons harass them with sickness in their families, maiming their cattle and blasting their cornfields. They, the Beales, will swing on the hooks, lie down to be trampled over by wild cattle, or work over a bed of hot coals of fire as a substitute offering. We want to bring God near to them. Preach the gospel through the jungle people themselves, preserving as far as possible the fine independence of the Beale people. Train your own jungle people, the Beales, as far as possible, right in the jungle. In this way, they keep in touch with their own people, and their classes and schools are held where they ought to be. You thus make your base for the propagation of the gospel right among the people.
And it's wonderful to think that those people who were even beneath the untouchables in the caste system, we regarded as our sisters and brothers in Jesus Christ. What are the needs of the Beale region, or what were the needs that first motivated our missionaries to go to such a strange and remote area?
The Beale people had never heard the word of God and had no idea of the saving grace of Jesus Christ. So Dr. Buchanan began to teach them that God loved them and that his love gave each one of them dignity and value. At the same time, Dr. Buchanan taught them how to make bricks and how to build straight walls with them. Along with seeds of faith, he taught them how to plant seeds and grow food for themselves and others. They needed education and health care, so the Buchanans began simple classes and medical care, and gradually churches, schools, and hospitals were established in the villages. Did you know that today Christians form less than 5% of the population of India, but they provide almost 20% of the health care through their hospitals and the network of community health programs? Thanks to the dedication of the Buchanans and other courageous mission leaders like Margaret Kennedy and Mabel Booth and Pauline Brown, and with the encouragement and support of people like you here at home, countless lives have been changed. Pauline Brown, a registered nurse from Ottawa, first went to India in 1951. And she still lives there in retirement in a small house on the Joliet Hospital property, where she intends to end her days. We had breakfast with her there every morning. During the week, we lived in the old bungalow that had been built in the 1920s for single lady missionaries from Canada. For over 50 years, Pauline has cared for the Beale people, who she says are now mature Christians ready to be trusted. The seeds of faith took root in a little girl named Deborah Tesla, who grew up within sight of the church we visited in Anaheim, where her father was a leader of that congregation. She finished school and then took nurses training, but she realized that the Beale people needed their own doctors, because very few others were willing to work in rural hospitals at low salaries. So with the help of the WMS, Deborah went on to be a qualified physician with specialist training in obstetrics and gynecology, and then returned to become medical superintendent of the hospital in Joliet. She retired from that position just last year, but complicated cases are still brought to her at the hospital. And when she finally does retire, Dr. Tesla's dream is to continue to serve on the cutting edge of mission as an evangelist to the isolated areas. The seeds of faith have taken root. In 1970, the Church of North India was formed from the missions of several denominations, including our own. But the people in the Beale field still feel very close to their Canadian Presbyterian roots. And in Joliet, they remember us in their prayers every day. It's not easy to be a Christian minority. In the recent past, both Muslims and Christians have been persecuted by extremist groups. But our sisters and brothers in the Beale field are persevering, living and practicing their faith.